The story of Genesis, God's creation of the world. In the Bible, the first story is about the creation of the world by God, which is recorded in the book of Genesis, chapters 1 and 2. This ancient story explains how everything began, from the heavens and the earth to humankind. Let's journey through each day of creation, exploring not only what God created, but also its deeper meaning for us today. Day 1, light in the beginning, the earth was formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Then, God spoke his first words, "Let there be light." And suddenly there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day and the darkness night. This marked the end of the first day. Reflection. The very first thing God created was light, something essential for life. Without light, nothing could grow or thrive. This is not just physical light, but also symbolizes spiritual light. Just as God brought light into the physical world, he brings spiritual light into the darkness of our hearts. Question: have you ever felt like you were in darkness and God brought light to your situation? What does it mean to you to live in God's light today? Day 2, the sky. On the second day, God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water." He made the sky, dividing the waters above from the waters below. The sky was vast and expansive, a space that would later be filled with clouds, the moon, stars, and the sun. Deeper meaning, the sky represents the boundary between the earthly and the heavenly realms. It reminds us that we live between two realities, the visible and the invisible. The sky also provides the air we breathe, emphasizing how God thoughtfully created an environment where life can flourish. Question: how do you experience the invisible in your life? Do you sense God's presence even though you cannot see him? Day 3, land and vegetation. On the third day, God commanded the waters to gather in one place, revealing the dry land. The land was named Earth, and the waters were called seas. God then said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees that bear fruit with seeds." As God spoke, the earth began to sprout life. Grass, trees, flowers, and fruit appeared. And God saw that it was good. Imagery. Picture a barren landscape, suddenly brought to life with greenery. The richness of creation was a sign of God's abundance. The trees bearing seeds were the first sign of the ongoing cycle of life. Each plant was designed with a purpose, not only to beautify the world, but to nourish it. Reflection. God's creation of plants and trees shows his provision. Everything we need to live, food, oxygen, shelter, was made on this day. Each plant has a role in the ecosystem, just as every person has a role in God's plan. Question: how do you see God's provision in your life? What does this tell you about the importance of being part of a larger plan? Day 4, the sun, moon, and stars. On the fourth day, God created the sun to rule the day and the moon and stars to rule the night. These heavenly bodies would mark the passage of time, days, months, seasons, and years. The light from the sun would give warmth, while the light from the moon and stars would guide people through the night. Significance. The creation of the sun, moon, and stars marks the structure of time. Without these celestial bodies, there would be no day and night, no changing seasons. Time is a gift from God, giving us rhythm and structure to our lives. It's also a reminder that God is eternal, outside of time, but gives us time as a tool to grow and experience life. Question: how do you use the time that God has given you? What can the stars and heavens teach us about the vastness of God's creation? Day 5, life in the waters and the sky. On the fifth day, God filled the seas with living creatures, fishes of all kinds, from the smallest minnow to the giant whale. He also filled the sky with birds. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." Imagery. Imagine the oceans teeming with life, dolphins, whales, colorful fish, and coral reefs, and the skies filled with birds soaring above. It is a scene of vibrancy and movement, a sign of God's life-giving creativity. Reflection. The birds and fish were the first creatures to experience God's blessing of fruitfulness. Like these creatures, we are also called to be fruitful, not only physically but spiritually, multiplying the goodness and blessings that God has given us. Question: what does it mean to you to be fruitful in your life? How do you multiply the blessings God has given you? Day 6, land animals and humans. On the 6th day, God created the animals that live on land, cattle, creeping things, and wild animals of all kinds. Then, as the crowning achievement of creation, God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." He created Adam, the first human, and from Adam's rib, God created Eve. God gave them dominion over all the creatures of the earth and told them to be fruitful and multiply, to fill the earth and subdue it. Reflection on humanity. Humans were created in the image of God, meaning that we have the ability to think, create, love, and make choices. Being made in God's image also gives us a unique responsibility to care for creation. We are stewards of the earth, tasked with taking care of it, nurturing its resources, and ensuring that future generations can enjoy its beauty. Question: what does it mean to you to be made in God's image? How does that impact the way you live and treat others? Day 7, a day of rest. On the 7th day, after completing his work, God rested. He blessed the 7th day and made it holy, setting it apart as a day of rest. Deeper insight. Rest is an essential part of creation. It teaches us that we are not machines meant to work endlessly. Just as God rested, we too are called to take time to rest, reflect, and connect with Him. The Sabbath reminds us that life is about more than just productivity. It's about relationships with God, with others, and with ourselves. Question: how do you incorporate rest into your life? What role does rest play in your relationship with God?